Today we are here to cover a deck that revolves around a restanding Vanguard with -1 drive, massive retire, and a budget that really makes you wonder what the hell is going on with this format. If you thought I was talking about Gandhiva or Fafnir, you're wrong. It's this shit. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Dbt12 here. Today I am back to cover Eugene. It has been an entire year since we covered Eugene. Last we saw Eugene, he was doing very well in Dbt07. However, massive changes in the meta game, irrelevance of the deck, as well as a complete overshadowing in his own nation thanks to Gandhiva, has led to Eugene being virtually unplayable. Now, this has changed a bit with new support, but really nothing has changed with his deck. It's still really bad. Playing this deck, really, you might as well just play something as equally bad that still has a chance of winning, like Vermilion, or you might as well just be playing, I don't know, Shoujo Doji, Megalozuchi, Virina. Like, this deck is seriously bad, but I want to cover it because it recently does have new support, and this video is really meant to show you what the future of Eugene looks like, because I feel that with this version of Eugene, really the only thing holding the deck back is Eugene himself. The rest of the card pool has significantly advanced since we first started failing in Dbt01. So really this video is more of teaching you the future going forward as to how we will be building Eugene, rather than actually teaching you how to build Eugene now, because building Eugene now is just really bad. So if you want to build this deck, I would recommend you pick up the rest of the deck first, then you actually, build this deck in terms of buy Eugene, because frankly I really hope Eugene gets a cross ride in Dbt13, because we are in sincere need of it. It's not a lie, and I'm going to cover why. Now for our right deck, we play Desert Gunner, but you can play any starter at this point. Really, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I play, Sparky Dragoon, sometimes I play Shoujo Doji, sometimes I straight up just play, is it Balakat? The Great Zero Scarlet Flare. I can't remember. But our new right line, and they wasted a whole stream on this, is Roderick. Now, the in-laws reason is never stated, and on stream they were really proud to show off that they are changing a card in the right deck. Now, if you don't know, the previous Eugene right deck, which you can check out in the link in the description below, all he does is when rolled upon by the Grade 2, which is Dustin. No, it's not Dustin. Is this Dustin? Oh my god. Randor. I should have read. When rolled upon by Randor, you soul charge 1, which does nothing. But this guy does even worse. When rolled upon by Randor, so that means we're still keeping him in the right deck. If your opponent has no rear guards, you draw, which is really good if you're fighting against someone who isn't rushing. However, given the nature of this format, that's incredibly impossible, because we have generic open Stoi, we have Monster Strike, we have Token Rambu, we have, even Gandhiva is playing Grade 2 games now, Chronogen is still playing a Grade 2 game, Willista is still playing a Grade 2 game. So really show me a deck where you can actually get the draw, and the answer is never. So really I don't even know if I want to keep playing Roderick in the right deck. So really, Kidani, you need to look into this. I don't know how you believed you solved this deck. In fact, you made it worse. Its second skill is that you can retire one of your rested rear guards to call this out from the soul, and it gains 5. Very similar to our set 3 friend Orlando, but I guess this is sort of better because this is built into the right deck. However, you will notice a recurring theme amongst your Dbt12 Eugene supports, that they are trying to remove the soul, which makes me believe that in the design space moving forward, we will no longer be using a Soul Blast 5 skill. But we'll have to get into that later on in the video. Okay? Randor. Now, Randor, while testing in Dbt12 Eugene, yes, I tested this shit, I find it more surprising that he's getting better. I don't know why, it just feels better to me. When rolled upon by Eugene, you choose a card from your drop zone, move into the soul, and then if you do, you draw 1 card. So he's the only guy that straight up pluses in this right deck, and he gives you 1 soul from the drop zone. Now, we have gone on and on and on about Randor for the last 12 sets, but very frankly, I find this set to be where Randor is most impactful. This is because now we have a new support whose name is, let me pull him out for you. Where is he? We have a new support, Clifton, who straight up returns cards from your soul back to the deck, which we have never gotten before outside of Dark Irregulars. If you played, that really annoying guy, the restander, what's his name? Bladdermouse, thank you. So besides Bladdermouse, I don't think we've actually gotten this level of support in terms of returning cards from the soul back to the deck to recycle. I know Burrow Magni's got one, but he doesn't really count because he's just trying to fulfill deck out. This is more of an impactful way to return triggers or key cards back to your deck. And by using Randall's skill in conjunction with Clifton, it allows you to straight up put up cards from the drop zone back into the deck. So if you guard with your over trigger early on, if you guard with anything early on, you now have a 2-card combo to just put them all back where they belong. Which is really insane. I mean, I didn't expect this support to change the right deck this significantly, but it's really worth looking into that this is a new interaction we have. But I don't wish to waste any more of your time on this. Let's carry on with skill 2, and that is when he attacks on the Vanguard or Rearguard circle, counterblast 1, soul charge 1, and this unit gains 5. We started off by straight up saying this was the worst skill and that you never use this in set 1, till now this is an absolutely must trigger in set 12. Although technically I did say you must use this skill in set 7, so you can't exactly blame me. It's now the only method of soul charge in the right deck since we lost the original Great One, whose name I don't even remember because he was just that bad. But let's talk about Eugene, because frankly I don't see myself getting out of this discussion anytime soon. Our grade 3s we just played for Eugene. Now yes, I'm skipping over talking about Eugene in the right deck because I feel that we can really flesh him out when we talk about him in his own separate segment. Eugene, you rest 2 of your rear guards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, this unit gains 10. Now plus 10 is still an outstanding number to give to a Vanguard, especially if it can restand, but the restand is really bad and resting 2 rear guards is really bad because you don't have much ways to restand it. Please don't tell me you're going to rely on Roderick to get around this problem. Roderick is still a net 0 because it just turns a resting body into a standing body, and your best rested body, who is Gibrasaurus, rests himself, and he is now more independent than ever in set 12 because you just use him to use his own Soul Blast skill to rest and stand. We have moved away from our old methods of playing Eugene, where we had the back row with Gates Fort, where we had, the Onishi Yaki, the Great One Ghost. Like we've completely moved away from the old style of using Eugene to the point where this skill is just completely unacceptable by today's standards. This is why Eugene seriously needs an update, and it's also because of his second skill, where if you retire the rearguard this turn, use Soul Blast 5, look at the top number of cards in your deck equal to open rearguard circles, call any number, soul charge the rest. It's not that this skill is bad. Frankly, I do enjoy using Eugene's skill. It's just that with the current build of this deck, you just never use it. And that sucks because Eugene's second hand was one of his only saving factors, and now we lose access to it because we straight up have to remove cards from the soul by methods of anything in this deck. You have to remove soul with Dustin, you have to remove soul with Gibrasaurus, you have to remove soul with Rugen, you have to remove soul with Clifton. It is irritating as all hell that even your right deck has joined in removing soul, which doesn't make sense. We've spent the last 11 sets trying to build soul, and now we are just trying to use it for costs that don't even matter. I know what you may be saying, oh then don't be stupid, just play different cards. But these are Eugene's best cards. You don't get it. This is all we have. It's like telling me you built Hexaorb, and the Hexaorb support is move all your triggers to the bottom of your deck. That's literally how stupid this sounds, and it is horrible because really it's only him that's holding the deck back. The rest of the deck is very compact and very good with their soul management, but when your only method of advantage is locked behind a Soul Blast 5, yeah, you sort of see where the problem is now. Moving on to our grade 2s. Our grade 2s is much more hopeful though. We have 4 copies of Rugen. We have 4... Is that Rugen? I can't remember his name. We have 4 copies of Meteor Flare, our good old Gunlever staple. Although he was Blade Master staple, so don't steal him. 4 copies of Dustin, and then 4 copies of King Gibrasaurus, and 1 copy of Randor in the right deck. Now, as you can see, every time I talk about Eugene, the grade 2 pool gets bigger and bigger. Eugene has a really decent grade 2 game, although I kind of wish the cards were a bit faster. That being said as well, I do also want to mention that a lot of cards are locked to Eugene himself, which means 3/4 of the time you still have to wait the turn 3. But that's really not a concern at this point. I'm happy that the recent support are all grade 1s, but when you print cards this shit, I kind of just wish you didn't give me support in general. So this is Randall, we've covered him before. Jibasaurus is still busted as all hell, he's still the best Eugene support. If you need a recap, you can check out any of my Eugene videos, but I'll just mention his skill. I won't need to tell you about what he does it for. Basically, if your Vanguard is the original Eugene, use Soul Blast 1, rest this unit, choose one opponent rear guards, retire it. At the start of your battle phase, if your opponent has one or less rear guards, stand this unit +5. That second skill can be used on turn 2, which means he is another Dragon Empire 15,000 grade 2 attacker. Moving on to Dustin. Dustin's actually really decent as well, although I'm kind of not sure how often we get the chance to even use him. When placed on the rearguard circle, if your Vanguard is the original Eugene, you move a card from your hand to the soul, you draw one card, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it. So it's a cycle, free cycle, and a free retire, which is really nice. And when Dustin attacks, you Soul Blast 1, he gains 2,000 power for each one of your opponent's open rearguard circles. So at best, he goes up to 10k. Really nice. But again, you are playing in a meta with Best in the Court, you're playing in a meta with Eva. Yeah. Although I will say I'm grateful that Dustin's skill is not restricted to having retired a rearguard this turn, which does happen. Next off, Meteor Flare. Meteor Flare is very simple. When placed on a rearguard circle, all of your opponent's rearguards lose their continuous abilities. Then you counter blast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit and retire it. Nice! You can actually play Meteor Flare on turn 2, by the way. I know nobody does that, but you can, okay? But remember that it removes all the skills from your rearguards, your opponent's rearguards. So Best in the Court and Eva completely protected. But you can kill Fossard though if Fossard is not protected by Best in the Court. Oh, and then of course if your opponent has no rearguards and your opponent's grade 3 or greater, this unit gains 10. Which is nice. You do get to use this skill sometimes. Lastly is our cycle card. What he does is very simple. You know, it's your basic cycle card skill. When discarded during your turn, during your right step, you basically Soul Blast 1, then you put this unit to the bottom deck and draw. So you change your discard 1 cost for your right deck to just a Soul Blast 1, which is cool because Eugene does have some ways to gain soul, and the +1's nice. If you persona right, count blast 1, choose one of your opponent's columns and retire all of them. So it's a column burner as well, and since Eugene is terrible in terms of actually retiring, this is probably your strongest retire. Moving on to our grade 1s, we obviously played for Perfect Guards. I swapped to the DBTO6 ones. I didn't get the time to put the other ones in, I'm sorry. 4 copies of Oswald, and then 3 copies of Roderick, and then last but not least, we have a 1 copy of Roderick in the right deck. PGs are PGs. I really don't have to discuss this. We're not playing Sanctitude in this deck because this is Eugene. You need to superior call cards from the top of your deck. If you are going to put Elementary Sanctitude, and if you superior call it, that's on you, okay? Not me. Roderick from the right deck, we've already covered him. I still feel that there is potential in this card because in the same way that Orlando has helped us a lot since set 3, I feel that this card does have the potential to help us as well. It's just that this meta is terribly suited for that. I really mean it when I say that a Eugene cross ride could turn this card into something of actual value. I'll talk about this guy first because he's probably the most memorable to me. This is Ziegenberg in human form. No, I'm kidding. I made that up. But basically what he does is at the end of the battle, that your Eugene Vanguard's attack, that this unit boosted, if your opponent has no rear guards and is grade 3 or greater, counter blast 1, choose 1 card from your hand, discard it, set Eugene's crit and drive to 1 and stand it. So any crits that Eugene gains is reset to 1. Any drive that Eugene gains is reset to 1. And then you attack with your 1 crit, 1 drive Eugene. But he keeps his power, so I guess that's fine. But you have to discard 1, so it is a net 0 for an extra attack. But, I need to highlight the but here. You will notice that it resets the critical to 1. And recently in Dragon Empire, especially in set 12, we actually had a very large wave of support focused around 2 critical Dragon Empire Vanguards. I'm going off on a tangent here because I need to explain this. So we get a draw engine for critical, a 20k beta for critical, and we have Tribash, who is the primary source of free criticals. If you play this 12 card engine in your Dragon Empire deck, it basically allows you to hit for a higher damage and cycle through your deck more, which is very good. But Eugene was unable to take advantage of this engine strictly because of Oswald setting your critical back to 1. I needed to say this because this is something I actually tested, but it was not able to come true. So as long as this guy stays in the Eugene deck, you are unable to play this engine. That being said though, I really don't see a reason why you would actually remove this card from your deck, because he is Eugene's only win column. So yeah, I would strongly just suggest that if you want to play this 12 crit combo, you do it in another Dragon Empire deck. Play it in Gandiva, play it in Vermilion, play it in anything else, because at this point in time, Eugene is just so built into his own support that he's drowning in his own desert. And last but not least, our new support, we have Clifton. Now, I played Clifton at 3 because I have no space, but I do want to say that I actually enjoy this card a lot more than you imagine. And that's what its first skill. Its first skill is, if your opponent's rear guards retire this turn, when this unit attacks or boosts, it gains 2000 power for each one of your opponent's open rear guard circles. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's like Dustin, but Dustin is costed, Clifton is free. So Clifton is potentially an 18k booster or attacker. It's really good. This is actually the kind of support I've wanted to see in the Eugene guard. Holy shit, if this was like 3 sets earlier, we could have had a chance to fight Chronojet, but we don't. The second skill is really simple. It is at the end of the battle that this unit boosted only, okay, not attack. You basically can retire this unit, choose up to 3 cards from your soul, return them to your deck, and if you return 1 or more, you countercharge 1. Oh, but the cost is you need to retire him. So -1, countercharge, return the unit to deck, 18k booster. Insane! Freaking insane! This card is really good in a vacuum. But when you look at the rest of Eugene support and you realize that you have to return at least 1 card from your soul back to the deck for the counter charge, that's where it gets really haywire. Because it does not make sense. Why are we going backwards when we won the 5 cards in soul? You would think that this is to return critical cards from your soul back into the deck, as I explained earlier in the segment in the right deck. But it doesn't make sense because we ran out of soul charge 2 sets ago. So the counter charge is really good because in my set 7 video, I stated that Eugene, by playing a combination of Meteor Flare as well as Oswald, made the deck a tier 2 meta contender in the set 7 meta, pre-Chronojet. But right now, this counter charge is 1 year too late. If this card was in set 7, we really would have no issue. But right now, we've come at a point where the resources is not the issue. It's the card pool. The card pool is utter shit for Eugene right now. So, while I'm very appreciative that they printed Clifton, I can't say this guy is going to be very impactful for the Eugene deck. I will say though that he's definitely worth picking up at 4 if you wish to play Eugene in the future. Like, you could straight up cut out Oswald if you really felt like it. You could straight up cut out Dustin if you felt like it. But I feel that Clifton is definitely the most future looking support. This is definitely the one support card that you can see in Eugene many more years to come, if Eugene continues to even be a deck. Because Kidani, I don't know what you're doing, okay? I don't. And for triggers, we obviously just play 1 over trigger, has to be Drug Feather, and then we play 8 criticals, and then we also play 4 effect draws. Because Eugene needs draws, I don't believe I need to explain this, but yeah, that's basically it. And then of course we play a starter. Any starter is fine, it doesn't matter. And yes, that wraps up my Eugene Dbt12 deck profile. As I have mentioned to no end previously, I think it's very clear that this deck is just not good. If you believe this deck is good, maybe you're just playing against a more casual environment, you're playing against a more friendly environment, which is fine. But if you try at any form of a locals or any form of a WGP, VMC, BCS, BRO, whatever the hell you play at, or hell, even your own meta fee tournament or God knows what, you're gonna realize that this deck is really bad. And no coach on this planet is going to be able to save you. No VTuber on this planet is gonna be able to save you. This deck is just bad. This meta is just bad for Eugene. There's no way I can sugarcoat it. I wish I could. I can't. I can sugarcoat it for Felty Rosa. I can sugarcoat it for Vermilion. I cannot sugarcoat it for Eugene. This deck is just bad. But I will say that the current state of this deck is that there is hope for its support. The support, the card pool is good. Best Harvest was a Eugene card. We do have good supports in this deck, in this format. It's just that we are tied behind a terrible boss monster who is not only horribly overrated, he's just super power cracked, and he was not even good when he came out. So in conclusion, this deck is worth picking up at a low price point if you are willing to wait for a Eugene Crossride. At the moment of recording this video, we are currently midway through August. We have just recently seen some of the new stuff from Welshra, and I believe some of the promos as well. Yeah, so I don't know when this video is coming out according to my release schedule, but I may be wrong. By the time this video comes out, I may have been correct. We may get a Eugene Crossride and this deck may become really good, but I just don't want to promise you guys anything that's not true. I started this Eugene train in DBT1 with Axis Vanguard, and 12 sets in, everyone is gone but me, and it really sucks. It honestly feels like shit to be so alone. But you know what? Just for you guys, for the few people that come and thank me and talk to me and my locals, for the few people that bother to entertain my bullshit, I will continue to keep covering this deck as long as Kidani keeps sending me support in the mail. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay safe, and I think this may be my last DBT12 video. I'm not sure, but I look forward to seeing you guys either in DBT12, DBT13, or just anywhere in general. Please, Kidani, please give me a V call soon. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.